Welcome to our Tuesday Mind the Moment session, brought to you by Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare and Tufts Health Plan. This is a place where we invite experienced mindfulness instructors to speak with us about what mindfulness means to them and to discuss as a community how we can incorporate these practices into our daily lives. I'm Suzanne Rowe, Palacino, and I'm absolutely delighted to be here with Mary Starr, mindfulness instructor with Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning, Suzanne, and good morning, everybody. And I just noticed that my little box says Suzanne, so I get to have a moment of stepping into your shoes.
Oh, whoopsie. And we can we can do that very quickly. I was just going to say you have the best, I'm sure people have mentioned this to you, you have the best name. I feel like you should be on the red carpet.
Oh, well, thank you. It is a family name. It is a family name.
Yeah, it's the best. I love it. So welcome to everyone, and especially our regulars, as well as the folks that are new this morning with us. So very special welcome to all of you. So if those of you that haven't joined before, we'll start this morning. Mary will start with a question for the group that we'll type into the chat, and then folks can chat back and give their responses to the question if they're moved to do that. So we then, Mary will share a few thoughts with us, and then we'll go right into a guided practice. So that will be approximately 12 minutes. For those that haven't meditated before, it'll all be, you'll be guided through the whole thing. We'll have some moments of silence to get all of us used to that different type of practice. Some people are used to guided, some people are used to silent, so it's a mix of both. And then we'll have some time at the end for questions. So if you can go to the bottom of your screen, open up your chat. And you'll notice when you open up the chat that, Julie, I just saw your comment. That's so funny. When you open up the chat, on the bottom, you can click on the blue drop-down menu that says hosts and panelists and change the option to everyone. And then everyone will be able to see your answers to the question and comments. And if anyone has anything that's on their mind, even not related to the subject, but related to mindfulness and your practice, you're more than welcome to type that in, and we will do our best to get to all the questions at some point in the webinar. All right, Mary. So what question do you have to offer the group this morning?
Okay, so it's a term, the term beginner's mind, beginner's mind. So when you hear that, what does it bring up for you?
Yeah. Yes, I had to take a breath for that one because there's a lot that can come up. But I think of starting fresh. And even in relationships, starting fresh, knowing that if there's something that has gone wrong, that you can always start again with a beginner's mind, and how helpful that can be.
Oh yeah, I'm seeing some good things coming in. Yes. Yeah.
How about you, Mary? What do you, when you thought of doing this, how did this come up for you?
Gosh, well, it came up for me in a couple, synchronicity works, things come at you. And in a recent conversation with a group of friends, somebody shared, and I have it here and I can read it. Somebody shared, it's a practice of Qigong, which I don't know of this practice, but apparently it's a reading that goes along with a particular practice called perfect freedom. And in reading it, it just kind of, it sort of blew my mind in some wonderful ways. And I've been playing with it, practicing with it in recent days. I can share it now, or we can kind of see some really great responses are coming in.
Yeah, let's look at the chat first, and then we can do that. That sounds like a good idea. Yeah, so we have uncertainty, starting and learning, starting at 0, can't screw up. Yeah. Yeah, clean slate, open-minded, opportunity, open mind. Yeah, blank slate, non-judging.
Mm.
Fresh perspective, fresh start.
Yeah.
Frustration. Grace to begin again. Yeah. Yeah, very, very, we've got a lot of varied feelings on that. I love that. Retta's mentioned, I say this to people when I teach water aerobics, when we have new people. I tell them to try and make it through class, no judging. We're starting at zero and building. Others have been in class for years. You're fresh. Yeah, even those that have been there regularly can think about it in a new way. That's great.
And sometimes being the beginner, which is where I think immediately, sometimes being the beginner is the advantage because, I think somebody said can't screw up, but there's fresh. And sometimes I know for me, I might take a little bit more risk that has nothing to do with knowing, the right thing to do, taking a new class and trying something because I don't know any better and, finding out that it is fun or, just a different approach. So,
yeah. And then Jennifer's also mentioned anxiety, uncertainty. Absolutely. I mean, when we start something new or begin, that can definitely come along with it. So,
because our tendency to know or think we know or want to know, trying to just experimenting. And that's all this is with our practice, just experimenting with an attitude of, this is a fresh moment. This is a new moment. It's kind of like it's a big shakeup for us. So I think the words frustration came up or, other things in anxiety, right? Because that not knowing is, so much we want to move ahead and think ahead. It just happens so fast. I know it does for me, just those mind habits. So,
yeah. And they also, and don't they say, as we learn a new language or start, learn how to play chess or anything like that, that, it is uncomfortable, but it's firing all these neurons and synapses in our brain that make things new in our brain and can keep us fresh and young.
Fresh and young, let's go for that. It's really nourishing. I mean, these attitude and the things of, not judging and not harming and, kindness. These are all the kind of attitudes we practice with. It's part of our meditation. And it nourishes that ground, as you said, it just nourishes that ground for our mindfulness to grow and deepen. And yeah.
And
yes,
Loretta also mentioned I had Girl Scouts that did not want to try new things because they didn't want to not be perfect at something. It starts so young, and sometimes with girls, I don't know. I have two girls, and I know I know sometimes that can happen. And yeah.
And the sense of perfectionism and, all these things that we pick up and we learn and have a lifetime to untangle, through practice and through different ways of self-compassion, which personally, as I've been working with this, I'll read this in a moment, but as I've been working with this little practice of reading this every day, a couple times a day, it's humbling because really what comes up first is just all the ways that I think I know, or that I have a judgment or an opinion. And it's just, it's human. So I would love to read this just to see how it lands with everybody and just, let it wash over you. This is from Robert Peng. He calls it a seasonal Qigong practice. And this is called Perfect Freedom. Now is the time to allow yourself not to know. Relax the mental muscle that says yes to one thing and no to another. Drop judgment and opinions. Suspend both belief and disbelief. Welcome enlightened ignorance. Let your mind go for a swim in the sea of infinite possibilities. As springtime matures, a new guiding vision will eventually materialize. Before this can happen, you must create the space for that vision to emerge. Now is the time to awaken the field of not knowing. So awakening the field of not knowing. There's a lot in what I just read. A lot to chew on, a lot to practice with. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's lovely. And when you mention you read it regularly, I think that's something that I'm sure there's a new feeling about it every time you read it,
There is, and I'll just share just before we do our own practice with this, right in the middle where it says drop judgment and opinions, suspend both belief and disbelief. It's like, what? So I'm actually changing it to say, notice judgment and opinions, right? Bring awareness to all the ways that I say yes to one thing and no to another. I think these are ways to just gently move into this attitude and all of the attitudes that we can cultivate. It's practice. We have a lifetime of building these habits, and our minds do judge. There's nothing wrong with a good judgment, in the right way,
Yeah, for sure.
So,
yeah, I love it. So thank you for sharing that. Food for thought, for sure.
Yeah. So how about we do a little practice?
Sounds good.
And appreciate all the wonderful discussion and comments that come around this, a beginner's mind. So we'll sit. We'll sit comfortably. And you can either close your eyes or just soften your gaze, cast it more downward. And knowing that this moment and each moment is a fresh moment. And the question is, can we meet this moment, this new moment, as it is? Welcoming the sense of the body, sitting, of the support of the ground under us. Welcoming sensation as it comes and goes. The pleasant and the unpleasant. Anchoring attention within the body, within the sense of the body, being supported by the chair, or sensations of the breath. And what does it feel like to breathe in terms of sensation, this new experience? And as the breath releases from the body, new sensation, new moment, fresh. In this way, we can continue resting, beginning, and beginning again. There'll be some silence for a little while. and continuing to practice. You may be beginning and beginning again as we bring body, mind together in this moment with sensations, with thoughts, and feelings. Just can we simply meet each unfolding moment as it is? As we prepare to end this formal practice of meditation, just again, this reminder of perfect freedom. Now is the time to allow yourself not to know. And as I read this, maybe there's a phrase or a part of this that just resonates with you, but now is the time to allow yourself not to know. Relax the mental muscle that says yes to one thing and no to another. Drop judgment and opinions. Suspend both belief and disbelief. Welcome enlightened ignorance. Let your mind go for a swim in the sea of infinite possibilities. As springtime matures, a new guiding vision will eventually materialize. But before that can happen, you and we must create the space for that vision to emerge. Now is the time to awaken the field of not knowing. And so you might take a deeper breath in and let it go. If your eyes were closed, you can open them up, reconnecting with space around you and for our community together. Mm. Mm.
Thank you, Mary.
Mm. Yeah, beginning and beginning again and again. And yeah.
There's so much there that you're so right with that, Mary. There's just so much, and even with our chat, it just showed how much it depends on our day, how we're feeling, our perspective about it. But the beginning again has a lot to do with our practice and how we get pulled away with thought, and then we come back, we begin again. And that judgment, it's hard not saying, I'm not, why did that happen? Why can't I focus? All of those things that we all naturally say to ourselves. But then we take a breath, we settle, and we come back.
Yes.
That's why they call it a practice, because we're learning every day, and every time we meditate, it's different.
Yeah. Yes. And I think maybe at least one person, maybe two people said clean slate. Sometimes I just imagine the eraser going, or, just kind of that blank canvas or open sky, that space of, okay, new moment. I can choose to meet this differently if what I'm noticing for myself, especially the stuff that, and of course, some things we want to welcome things just as they are, but sometimes we don't really want to welcome things just as they are. And so for me, it's having that vision of a sky or of a blank, of a clean canvas. I do that pretty regularly. Yeah.
And I like what just thinking about the sky and, talking about how, a sunrise is different every morning. And even the ability to begin again if we have a bad day, just start. There's the freshness of a new day that we can look at things differently. There's so much here. It's such a rich discussion. So thank you for bringing this up in the way that you have. It's perfect. So,
well, my great pleasure. And just to hear what, from others here is just really nourishes me. So thank you for all of that.
Yeah, and I love what Colleen has said too, is about being a teacher. And that is the gift of being a teacher in the way that you are, Colleen, is not always being the expert and taking in, learning from your students and how they react and how they take in what you've shared. Being a teacher myself, it's just, you're right. It's such a humbling experience. Like, we think we know the material, we think we know all this, but then someone brings something to our minds, and it's like, wow, I never thought of it that way. And Rizvana saying every time we meditate. Yeah. And that's why it's such a good practice, whether we meditate for 2 minutes in the grocery line or wherever. It's, we're just doing it in a different way every time.
Right. I see that there was a request to share the name of the reading. So Suzanne, maybe what I'll do is I will give that to you.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
I can type it.
I don't know if this is actually written anywhere, like if you Googled it, if you'd find it. I think this is part of a bigger practice. Anyway, I wasn't able to find it right away. So,
you know what I'll do is I'll just take the whole thing here, and I'll just, because I have it from your email, and I'll copy and paste it.
Great. And it's called a seasonal empowerment practice. So I guess this is for spring.
as the snow finally comes. Seasonal
Well,
empowerment
we've made it
practice.
through most of winter. I think, really officially we're mostly through winter, but absolutely we are in winter now. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's, at this time in the winter, there's, well, of course, because we had such, I mean, and I know we've got Ohio, we've got Florida, we've got all these different places to inform us of what's going on in their weather. But I think most of us being in the Northeast, it's like 60 degrees, like people's crocuses are coming up. It's just,
Yeah.
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 Nice and weird at the same time. So we'll just talk about duality.
Yep.
We'll take in both, right? Well, it's 9 o'clock, and so grateful to you, Mary, for bringing this lovely, lovely practice to us. It's always so enlightening to have you here, and your smile and your peaceful way is just a gift. So thank you for being here.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you, Suzanne, and everybody for your wonderful practice.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow morning for our Zoom meeting format. Have a good rest of your day. See you soon.